Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Brian from USA.Patriot.Cards. Welcome back to part two of my trade journey. And today I'm going to talk about a couple more trades that I've been able to do over the past 2 years. I'm going to talk about some of the benefits that trading in and out of cards can do for you, like I did yesterday. And let me just say that if you have a card that you'd like to trade, if you want to look at some of my stuff that I have to trade, hit me up on Instagram, USA.Patriot.Cards. I'm near 1,000 followers. I sure would like to go over that number. So even if you don't have anything to trade, follow me over there. I'll follow you back, and we can grow this thing together. I'm definitely interested in looking at anything you guys might want to trade, talk about stuff, whatever it is. I can't make any promises because I do kind of have certain players that I'm looking to get into and certain levels I'm looking to move up into. I would be willing in certain circumstances to trade in one-for-one deals, but mostly I'm looking to trade up into bigger cards. So if you have something like that, hit me up at Instagram at USA.Patriot.Cards. Let me jump right into this. I'll start here. This is a 2018 Panini Prism Blue Scope Lamar Jackson color match. Mike Baker Gold that I got in the absolute height of the boom that we just went through. I can't remember if it was March or if it was February of 2021, but that was when the prices were the highest. That was when things were craziest, and that was when repacks were really hot. So you can see here, this 12 pack of cards right here. This is what I traded to get into this Lamar Jackson. I think I gave $500 as well. But when I saw this Lamar Jackson, I was like, oh God, I got to have that. I think he had it like comped at like 5,500. It's out of 15. Normally the blue scopes are out of 99. Josh Allen's blue scope is out of 99. This one is out of 15. I don't know why Lamar only signed 15, but they are stamped to 15 as well, which is really nice. Makes it a really low pop I'd say Lamar Jackson's best cards, aside from National Treasures and Flawless and stuff. But as far as his Prism is concerned, this is really high up there in terms of Lamar Jackson. When I saw this, I had 2 briefcases. Like, I carry them around, super heavy, at Dallas when I'm walking around Dallas. Now I'm down to about 1 case because I've gotten rid of so many smaller cards, and this trade here helped do that. But I had 2 briefcases. I saw this card, asked what he had on it. He told me. I said, "Do you mind looking at some of my stuff? Off chance that maybe you'd want any of it." He said, "Yeah, sure." So I popped up my case, and he just starts pulling stuff out like crazy. I'm like, damn. He pulled all these 12 cards out. We comped them. I was $500 short. I PayPal'd him $500, and boom, off I went. He was a repacker, and he was looking for PSA 10s in small cards that he could put in his repacks and sale. That was back when repacks were going like hotcakes, and people, even back then it was hard to afford a card at 6K, but you break it down into 12 pieces like this, and it was way easier and faster for him to move. And I didn't have any business with those 12 cards. Those 12 cards that you see right here were all cards that I had acquired raw and then graded. And this was under the like $12 grading before PSA shut down. So it just was, the timing was perfect. I happened to have what he wanted. He had this card that I wanted, and I've kept this card ever since. I love this card. I probably won't ever get rid of this card unless it's in a bigger deal for something. If you want this card and you have a bigger something, hit me up. But anyway, yeah, this card is really cool, and I love that it's short print out of 15. And I love that even going back now, what do you think that 12 pack of cards right there is worth? Maybe like $700-800, maybe $850. So I definitely was able to hold value in this by moving into this. So that was a great trade for me. Next on the list, let's go to this fast break Luka. This card, I already had one when I traded in, so I have two of these. But I wanted to grab another one. This was shortly after the Lamar trade. This was when the Mavericks were in the playoffs against, I think they had just beaten Utah, and they were playing Phoenix next. And Luka came back, and Luka was hot, right, at this point. But I think the guy I traded the card from, that traded the card to me, was a friend of mine. And the comp on this was 10K. And then after he got hurt in that Utah series, one sold for like 8,300. And so he got kind of nervous about holding this big Luka. He was a guy that didn't want to hold a lot of stuff, right? He goes to shows a lot. He works at a card store. He doesn't own the card store, but he works there. He's trying to move inventory as fast as he can. Get into stuff, get out of stuff. Get into stuff, get out of stuff. Well, he got into this, and when that bad comp came, that was like almost $2,000 less than what he was in it at. He got nervous, and so I was like, hey, you want to trade out of it? And he did, and this trade took about a day and a half to materialize, which isn't bad. I was able to drive down to his shop and make the deal happen. But this is what I gave for this Luka. I gave a Josh Allen pink rookie auto out of Prism, PSA 10. A downtown Giannis with a gold label, short print, PSA 10. A Joe Burrow silver. A Chris Paul Topps Chrome Mint 9. A Dan Marino rookie Mint 9. And a 2018 Panini Revolution Impact Luka Mint 9. Obviously, the top three cards in this deal were the biggest ones. I got to, I think, 10 on this with those 6 cards. As we speak today, 1st of December, the last comp on this was, I think, around $7,500. So I'm not sure who you would say won this trade, because I think the pink, the Giannis, and the Burrow get you to at least 75. And then the bottom 3 cards are, probably about $600 or $700 in cards. But when you're doing a trade that's around 10K, $600 or $700 doesn't really weigh much into the deal. I mean, obviously, it's not something you want to, just give away, but not worried about those bottom 3, to be honest. If I had a chance to redo this deal and take all those cards back, would I? That's a good question. I don't have any Burrow stuff because I traded all of it. I don't have any Giannis. That was the only Giannis I had. He's playing lights out right now. And then the Josh Pink is, a PSA 10 Josh Prism auto. It's always nice to have. But I think long term, those are all cards that I could really live without. And it's nice to have 2 of these. I call these the poor man Luka color match for Prism, because the fast break blue is a color match, but there's no way I could get into the true blue PSA 10. I could if somebody wanted to trade down, but I love Luka. He's my favorite player, maybe in all of sports. So having 2 of this card doesn't bother me at all. I think I'd probably hold if I was offered a trade back on that, but it's close. I don't think there's a clear winner here. I'm a Luka lover. He wanted to get out and move on, and he's since moved all those cards. So they're in new homes. Let's go next to this Pat Mahomes field level. Now, it does have nice subs. It's a, what would that be? A Gem Mint Plus? Is that what that would be? Because it has all 9 5s and a 10. Now, for this card, I gave, let's see, where is it? right here. You can see the pink circles here that I drew around this picture show, because there's other cards to look at, but it was the bottom three. So it was a pink Allen, it was a Amari Cooper Flawless ungraded to 10 RPA horizontal, and it was an immaculate Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, and Craig Biggio game used patch out of immaculate. The interesting part of that card was that it was a laundry tag for Nolan Ryan, so that was something that you don't see often. And I think I gave $200 in this trade as well, but I just wanted. This was before this season started, and my quest was to move all my Josh Allens back into Mahomes, because in 2021. Yeah. In 2021, I picked up a bunch of Josh Allens. I moved a bunch of my high-end Mahomes into Josh Allen's mid-season. All those Josh Allens went up, right? Because of his playoff run and the way he lost in Kansas City, and the way they blew out the Patriots. People just had this really good taste in their mouth for Josh Allen stuff. And I'd argue he went into this season as probably the most preferred quarterback in the hobby, just under or just above Mahomes. But now I'm trying to, or the last 3 or 4 months, I've been trying to capitalize on the dip that Mahomes had, the rise that Josh had, and reverse that again, and get out of my Josh stuff and back into Mahomes stuff. Because ultimately, I think that Mahomes is going to be the better quarterback and the better rep in the hobby, the better player to collect. So, yeah, I did that deal, 200 his way. I would do that deal again today. Next is this gorgeous double dime, this green scope 2017 Prism Pat Mahomes. This was actually the first Mahomes Prism auto that I traded into. This was in the playoffs as well. I got this the same show I got this. So I literally came home from the Dallas Card Show weekend with these two cards, and I was on cloud nine, man, to get both of these. The way I acquired the Mahomes was for this Curry Kaboom. Now, this Curry Kaboom was a card I picked up a long time ago, probably in 2017, when I was just kind of getting back in the hobby. I got really back into it in 2016, but I was on eBay every day. I was watching breaks every day. I was in some breaks, not many, but I was scouring the YouTube channels, watching breaks, scouring eBay for cards, looking at everything, because everything was so new to me. I came back into this thing, and the hobby had changed. I'm 47 years old, so the last time I collected was probably Ken Griffey, 89 Upper Deck. And then I got into high school in the early 90s, and I went off into college, and then I really didn't come back into the hobby until my son was about 11, back when Dak and Zeke hit. And then that was just like the perfect time, because it was Dak and Zeke and Ohtani and Mahomes and Luka and Zion and all these, and all these great players. But yeah, this Kaboom I bought on eBay. I must have paid $200 or $300 for it, just because, I mean, Curry was a great player. He's always been a great player, but his market hadn't exploded yet back then. And Kabooms were cool. Everybody knew they were case hits, right? But they weren't as popular as they've become. So I had this. I bought a Durant one. I bought a Porzingis one. I just bought a bunch of these raw Kabooms from 2013. I don't know if the Porzingis was from 2013. I know the Durant and this Curry were from the first run of the Kabooms, and I didn't realize that when I was buying these cards. So I get this card, right, and I I didn't grade for like a couple years. Matter of fact, I didn't start grading until probably COVID hit, and I started sending stuff. Well, no, before a little before that, because I did have an order come back before the PSA shut down. But this one I had to send in at a higher. This one wasn't a $12 grade. I think it was. I think I paid $300 to grade this, maybe $150. I can't remember, one of those two. But it was when the kabooms exploded, and I was like, well, I gotta grade these at least. But let me tell you something about this card. I don't know if you can see it, but in the KA of this card, there are a bunch of dimples, like a lot of dimples. So many dimples that I thought to myself, this isn't worth grading. I probably shouldn't grade this. And I almost sold this raw a few times. But then I thought, well, I'm just going to grade it anyway because I don't want somebody to return this because of these dimples. And if it's graded, they're buying a graded card. They know what they're getting into, right? There's less risk of somebody saying, hey, you know, this card has a problem with it and I want my money back and all that. So I sent it off to grading. I got an email about being upcharged, and I went and looked, and it was for this freaking Curry Kaboom, and I was like, what? I couldn't believe, and I'm telling you, I could not believe this thing got a 10. The Durant looked better, and it got an 8, but whatever, I wasn't going to complain. Took this to the Dallas Card Show that weekend, and I was like, I'm not coming home with this card. I don't like the Kabooms that much. I'm not a big Curry fan. And I knew this card had a lot of value, so I was going to trade into something. I don't really care what. I just got to get off this card. I was willing to trade down, whatever it took. I did not want to bring this card home. Man, I shopped it everywhere. Nobody wanted it. I think I was asking, 10K, which was right around in line with comps. I mean, I wasn't out of bounds by any means. Nobody wanted it. I couldn't get rid of it. I even took it to Roth Cards. I think he said, man, best I can give you is like 5,200. I was like, oh, God, this is brutal. My friend that I traded the Blue Scope Luka for, that I got from him, we had a sort of deal that, like, if it didn't sell, if I couldn't get rid of it, and I had it at the end of the show, he would take it for 6K. Is what, like, we had kind of a, like, handshake deal on. Went to trade night, Saturday night. And I found a guy that had this. And I didn't even, I'm carrying my one case with like my best cards in it. I had 2 cases, but I always get a room at the Marriott, me and my friend, and because we stayed at trade night till God knows when, and we just go up in our room, and Sunday we come back down and hit the floor, but whatever. I left the other case upstairs, so I had my best cards, and I had the Curry in my hand, walking it. I didn't want him to look into this case. I didn't want him to pull anything out of this case. It was just, I'm trying to move this Curry. Do you want it? So I asked him, hey, would you have any interest in this Curry? Showed it to him. And he was like, yeah, I might. What's the deal with it? Like, what's the trade value on it? And I said, well, I'm trying to get 10K for it. And I showed him like how I got to that number and everything. And he was getting ready to go to California the next weekend, and the Warriors were playing the Mavericks in the playoffs. So he saw dollar signs being able to take this big Curry to a California show and do some good damage with it. So we were able to strike a deal. I was so excited. I think I gave either 2K or 2,300. I can't remember. It was right around there. And that Curry for this. Now, the last comp on this that we were working off of was like 12.3, I think. But that was a auction comp, all cash, right? And this is after the Chiefs lost to the Bengals and when Mahomes' stuff was like dipping. A lot of people were putting their big Mahomes up. They weren't even bringing them out to the shows. They weren't honoring any comps, especially on these big Mahomes like this. Not only did he honor the last auction, full straight cash comp, but he took the Curry at like 9,500 value or 10 or something. It was right where I wanted to be on it. So my friend was there when I was doing the deal, and we both walked away from that like two like little kids. Like we were like stomping our feet and like so happy that we were able to get off of that Curry and into this freaking dope ass Mahomes. Anyway, let me save this for last. I'll tell you about this. This is probably a trade I got beat in right here, unfortunately. Traded this. So I got hurt on LaMelo Prism Silvers all the way around. And I got hurt on Devin Booker stuff. I bought Devin Booker 10s for $1,100 each base before they went into the playoffs when they got all the way to the finals that year. I think that was 2019, maybe 2020. I can't remember who they lost to. Was it Milwaukee? I think it was. The year that the Suns played Milwaukee in the finals. I'm not making that up, right? That happened, I feel like. I had this like thing about Devin Booker. I think he's undervalued, and I think that like, he's going to be somebody that if I pick up now and they make a run in the final and make the run in the playoffs, man, I'll be able to make a lick on this dude. So I picked up these two here you see in the bottom left, these 2 10s for $1,100 each. I picked up a bunch of 9s for like, I don't know, like $400 each or 5. I can't remember what the numbers were. I got slaughtered. Then I was buying a bunch of LaMelo 9s because I don't know why. I believed in LaMelo too when he first hit the scene and when his prisms were coming out. And this was when the 10s were super, 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 super short print. And it was right after PSA had started opening up and people were like, you got to be careful. We don't know if this is a true like situation where the 10s are really like hard to come by, or if it's just that a lot of the LaMelos haven't come back from grading or haven't even been sent in. So I got slaughtered. If you look at everything I gave, so I circled the 2 cards I got. I got the LaMelo Silver, and I got the Justin Herbert Blue. And if you look at what I gave 4 LaMelo 9s. I gave the 2 Booker 10 base, and I gave a base Julio Rodriguez first Bowman auto that I was into for like $850 or $900. So I gave 2K. Oh, I got murdered. This is probably the worst deal I've ever done. I don't even know where these are today. I know I got off that Herbert at like 3,300. So I did make a little money back on that because I got into it at 2 in this deal. But I got absolutely murdered. I wanted to share this trade with you though, because I think we all can only do the best with the information we have at the time. And I knew I shouldn't probably have been getting into Booker, and I shouldn't have probably been chasing like whatever value I perceived was there with the LaMelo 10s at the time. And I think they're still a little shorter print compared to other Prism like sets. I think the LaMelo 10s. I don't know if all the silvers from 2020 Prism basketball are hard to gem, or if it's mostly just the LaMelo. But yeah, I got slaughtered in this trade. Let's move on. Okay, last trade for today is the Tiger Luka. It's the tattoo match, I like to call it, because he's got a tiger tattoo on his left forearm. It's a gorgeous card. I'll always keep this card. I'll never trade this card. It'll go to my son, I'm sure, and hopefully he'll keep it as well. I mean, I would sell it if I had to, or trade out of it and then sell those cards. I'd move it if I had to, but let's just like pretend that never happens. It won't happen. We're good. Anyway, here's what I gave for this. Now I made this trade the same weekend I got the Green Scope Mahomes. I got this on the Friday of that Dallas show, and I got the Mahomes on the Saturday night trade night. So it was a big show for me. But here's what I gave. I gave a good bit here. I gave a Josh Allen Contenders 10 with the Mike Baker Gold. Not that that matters. I just like mentioning it. I gave an Ohtani. That's the one card I wish I could get back. I used to have two of them. One was a 9, one was a 10. I bought this Ohtani when he got hurt, and he sat out all year with Tommy John. I bought it for $1,200, and I traded it in this trade, I think, at 7,500. So I did well with that card. I just wish I had another one. And I'm going to make a video about the comps on this Ohtani. Because there's some shenanigans going on with it. And I'll make a video about it and talk about it. Because I looked into like where that card is now, and it's crazy. We'll talk about it later. I gave 3 Joe Burrows. So I gave the blue ice, I gave the silver auto, and I gave the orange color match, all 10s. The story on this is it had been up to 60K. And then just started kind of coming back down, just as the market started moving down, and Luka's market started kind of moving down too. It got down to all the way down to, I think, 28 was an auction price that we worked off of. I also added $500 that you don't see in this picture, but I did add 500 just to kind of sweeten the deal and get the deal done. But yeah, I had comps for all those cards, all 5 of those cards that equaled up to about 28. Gave the 500, walked away with this. The next day, the dude I traded, I didn't talk to him, but his friends were telling me that he was feeling awful about it. He said he got like beat up bad in the trade. I'm like, how did he get beat up bad in the trade? Like, he got 5 cards that have recent solid comps that equal up to what this card that was clearly on its way down did in its last comp. And then wouldn't you know it, I was like, oh, this would be safe. I won't see this card come up for sale in any like auction or whatever for a long time. This is so like rare. Like, there's not many out there. I don't know what the pop count is. It's low though. Freaking one came up on eBay like 3 weeks later after the Mavericks were eliminated from the playoffs, and it did like 2,300 or 23K. But I couldn't trade into. I don't think anybody would take 23 in cards for this. I think you'd have to come with 23K cash, and there hasn't been a lower comp since. I don't even know if there's been another comp since. So I just rationalized it in my own head, like, look, if we were working off the 23K comp, he wouldn't even taken that, because he told me he had an offer for like, I think it was like, what did he say, 50 G's at one time that he turned down. Maybe it was 45K. He got offered 45K for this and he turned it down. Then he ended up having to move it to me for way less. So, yeah, it's a card that I love. It's a card that I just like to stare at. It's definitely one of my favorites in my collection. But, yeah, I had a bunch of Burrow because after I sold a huge Mahomes right before they beat the Bills, the 13-second game, and it took a bunch of that money, and I bought a bunch of Burrows. And wouldn't you know it, here goes Joe Burrow on his run. Where I made my mistake is I didn't get off those Burrows before the Super Bowl. I decided I was going to let it ride because I was pretty convinced that he was going to win the damn Super Bowl, and he didn't. But I was able to move. I mean, his market dropped about 40% after that, but I still made money on all my Burrows, and I was able to get into some cool stuff. I'll talk about another trade tomorrow that took what Burrows I had left and just wiped them out. He grabbed them all in that deal, and then Burrow started losing a bunch of games. But he's back now. I need to pick up a Burrow, but I feel like I just talked for 30 minutes straight, and I did. I hope that you were able to follow along and I wasn't rambling too hard, but I do apologize if I was. This was fun. This was fun to relive some of these big trades and to talk about them and just to see again like what I gave up and how bad I got beat or how good I did, whatever. It's fun to do. I encourage you guys to do the same. And if you didn't take pictures of the trades that you've made in the past, start taking pictures of all the trades you make so that you can remember them. But all right, tomorrow I'll finish up with the video of the bigger trades I've made in the past 2 years. Let's see, we'll get into a little preview. We'll get into this guy. We'll get into this guy. We can talk a little. Oh, here's one. Here's another one. And then we'll cap this thing off with my most recent big one, the White Sparkle Luka. So looking forward to finishing up this series on trades and looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.